PinkPantheress.
I've always known.
Are you in this for life?
What, like a musician?
Yeah.
No, not for life. Not like till I'm
that was
dead.
the hook. That was like all leading up to this moment. You were like, man, by the time I've made 10 albums and I've decided
come on, mate.
and I was going to hit you with, are you in this for life? And you would go, you know what I am? And you're like, nah.
Come on, mate.
Crisps in hand, bangers on the box.
Popcorn.
Fair enough. Never guarantee. I mean, look, I've felt the few times we've hung out and gotten to know each other, you just do your thing. And like, I don't feel like there's ever any guarantee you're going to put anything out or not put anything out. It's like, you just move with the wind. And I love that. And so we have this and I'm stoked about it.
Oh, that's really nice of you. Thank you.
Welcome back to LA.
Thank you. Oh, God,
No, that's
this is
fine. That's
horrible.
fine. No, I mean, we have no formalities in the studio either way.
Okay, thank you.
You're more than welcome. So glad you're here. Welcome back to Los Angeles. Do you like it here? Did you miss it? Did you like it the first time? Do you like it more the second time?
Well, actually, I'll have you know, I actually live here.
Get out of here. When did you move here?
I've kind of been living here, honestly, well 2 years, I'd say. But
I don't feel bad for not knowing that. That would be weird if I did.
Well, no, I guess you're right. It would be a bit weird. But no, I live between here and London, so it's just a back and forth. But I do like it here. It's not bad.
Yeah. What do you miss about London when you're here and vice versa?
For me, honestly, I will say the one thing is people just being able to get certain references and humour.
Yeah, the humour thing.
The humour thing. I will say I've noticed people are a bit sensitive here, but not. I'm not like one of those. Like I don't have edgy humour. I'm not saying that. I'm very. Listen, I'm very woke.
No, I get that though.
PC. But my point is, people here, they don't want to be told certain things.
It's true. There's a certain mentality in the way that you deliver something for humor value, or perhaps even just to emphasize point with a little bit of humor, which can sometimes fall flat.
It can.
And I'm not trying to insult my American friends, because there's many qualities in the way you communicate that other countries do not get. But,
so true.
But there's a literal response that I find sometimes a little bit of a wall.
Yes.
When I'm trying to say something. If I say, go f*** yourself, I'm not expecting you to actually go do it.
Right.
It's more of a light-hearted response to something I feel that we're in the zone
do you,
of.
When you're back at home, do you say
all the time?
Silly.
Yeah, like, dude, that word is just, that goes all over the map. That word can be a good thing.
People cannot take that word here.
Oh, no.
No, you can't call someone a silly, huh?
No. Marina's got a brand new song called...
I saw that. That's too explicit to say on this program, I think. But I've seen that made me really laugh.
It made me laugh. I spoke to her about it yesterday. I said it once and she thought it was brilliant.
Why? Because of your accent?
I think so.
Okay.
Because we really lean into that syllable.
Oh, we're back at home.
Yeah, I mean...
You kind of say can't.
We say, you can't.
Yeah,
it's
really can't.
It's probably the most New Zealand sounding word in the glossary. Back with new music. Can we talk a little bit about the decision you made to just regroup? Because I think it's great. And I think we should probably talk a little bit about that. You made some decisions that some people make. Well, you pulled back from shows. And
right. That's what you mean.
Yeah, you just wanted to figure some stuff out on your own terms. Was there any resistance there, even with good intention? Did anyone turn around and say, hey, but things are rolling. You sure you want to do that?
100%. I mean, but not even just because of things are rolling, but more because of financial reasons why if you agree to do shows and you don't follow through, there's a lot of money being missed out on. There's also a lot of, there's also the opportunity for backlash to be, that wasn't really the least of my concerns was the money, obviously. I'm just somebody, generally speaking, that is used to not looking after thyself because I push through. And that's honestly one of the reasons I lost my hearing in this year is because of that. So after that happened, I don't know what it was. I think it was when I started cutting my hair with razor blades where I realized, you know what, I'm actually going to stop now.
I'm insane.
I think it was when I cut my hair off where I was like, you know what, I'm going to probably take a step back and chill. And I'm not someone that generally has... I don't really suffer with any of these. I don't really suffer with any kind of lapse in judgments when it comes to myself usually. But that's when I knew. I was like, God, it's crazy. I had an impulse to literally get follicles of hair off of me. So I needed to,
You're full up.
I was full up. I was like, you know what? There was something that I needed to address, and so I had to leave. And I did that for my own good. And obviously, it was a very sad moment for people that wanted to see me but couldn't see me. But obviously, what goes around comes around, and I'll be back again.
Congratulations on having the self-awareness to recognize that.
Thank you.
Isn't it crazy how fast it can happen when you're getting what you want? All of a sudden, it's like, wow.
Yep, it does. But that's the thing. I mean, you were just telling me out there, like, performing for you is not as fun as it seems when you're like, when you get booked in the first place. Like, you get booked and you're like, oh my God, this is fantastic. And then it's the day of and you're like, oh my God, this is like eating away at me slowly. So I don't know. For me, it's like I have the same thing. Like, you get booked for an amazing opportunity, which no one else really would turn down and you shouldn't turn down. And then maybe on the day you realize like this is way, 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 way too big for you, or like you realize that you were never really equipped in the first place. And it's a whole...
No, there's a built-in anxiety that comes with anything in life that is a stretch forward. And a lot of people tell you that's part of it, and that's a big part of why you should accept it. But it does chip away at your insides. After a while, you start to get that sort of sense. It becomes more of a trauma reaction. And
100%.
yeah, so stepping back, I really respect it. And you're back, and everybody missed you. Nothing really changed, and everyone's okay.
No, I'm so... Well, I actually didn't mean... Let me just put this back up. I'm back.
I tell you what, how about you be the boss and I'll go down here?
Well, that's how it usually works, isn't it?
That's how it usually works.
Yeah.
The boss is back. No, it did nothing but make us miss you and welcome you back. And when the music came back, it was really fresh. And when did you realize that, you wanted to continue? Because, when maybe you always did, but when did you feel like you had that energy and you're like, okay, I'm ready to go again?
Okay, like for me, it was like around August time where I was like, okay, let's like get going again, because I knew I wanted to put out a project this year. So what's funny, and I'm somebody that really also rushes a lot of things. So funnily enough, I was making it in August, it was finished in November, and I was telling my label like, let's go, let me release it last year. Yeah. And they were like, why would you release it so soon? Like, why don't you give yourself a proper rollout? And I've really never done a proper rollout before. So this is like my first attempt at a rollout. So this is going to be interesting. We'll see how it goes. But I got started a few months after. I let myself a few months.
What did you do in those few months?
I don't know what I did. What did I do? You know what? I think at the time I was seeing someone that I feel like I was doing a bit of traveling. Yeah. I did a bit of traveling.
Just cause?
Just cause, yeah. I was traveling, and I guess I'm a homebody, so I was also just at home. I was just kind of revisiting my friends, seeing friends I haven't seen for a long time. Yeah. Stuff like that.
Beautiful. When you talk about this being the first rollout of a record, and I think it's been beautiful. I mean, we've played all the songs. It's felt like we've gotten to know the feeling of the project. It's felt really good. But did it kind of shock you thinking back now on how you landed? Because there was no rollout, there was no plan. Like seriously, it probably really highlights more how crazy the timing and just that moment was.
Yeah. What now?
Yeah, doing it, taking your time must kind of make you realize that it was kind of so unorthodox the way that it happened.
So unorthodox, but it was a direct result of the internet. It was the climate of the internet.
Because the internet.
It was because the internet, exactly. Good one. It was the climate of the internet at the time. And what actually is more so interesting to me than how quick I rose in those beginning days is more so actually how much the internet has changed and how it's actually so insane now. Like, I'm telling you, like...
Can we talk about that, your perspective on that?
It's insane. So basically, I'm somebody that I'm very... My whole family is very, on my dad's side, we're all very, analytical. They're all chess players, all very strategic. And I learned that way of thinking, I think, from my dad. And he's an academic, you know what I mean? So for me, I have a very similar brain. And so that's why I kind of, in the first place, had the incentive to use TikTok in the first place. To whatever, just figure out, get a fan base build. So over time, I look at ways in which songs from other people, I watch other people too, not in any, not to pocket watch or to critique, but more to actually see, okay, so how are people digesting? How are people ingesting this? And of course, a lot of people leave this to their labels to do. And I could leave it to my label to do, but actually I think it's way more fun. I find this really fun. I love looking at this kind of stuff. It's so fun to figure out and again, strategize. But to me, I take it upon myself to kind of figure these things out before I get someone else to do it. So for me, I think what I've noticed is at this very point in time, TikTok is now more about a music sharing thing than it was ever before. And what that means is the way that people now expect music to enter their radar is not from them finding it first, but from them finding it with everybody else. If that makes any sense.
Interesting. It's the new radio.
It's the new radio, exactly. So in simple terms, it means anybody, big or small, can drop a song. And like 4 years ago, it would be like, oh my God, they dropped a song, everyone, like, we got to listen to it. But now it's like, okay, they dropped a song. We don't really care unless it goes viral and blows up. And that goes across the board. That's for everyone. That's for people smaller than me artists, bigger than me artists. It's like, we don't give a unless the song blows up.
Yeah.
And it was so different a few years ago. Like a few years ago, it was like, okay, we know this artist is dropping on this day, and we're all going to collectively listen to it. And the ones that really like it, we're going to keep streaming. The ones that don't, we're not going to stream anymore.
I think they changed the algorithm for that very reason. I think it was becoming a tool that people knew how to use, and that ultimately makes it less sticky. It's much more sticky if you're trying to figure out how to make it work for you than if it already does. And so I think that there was an element of changing the algorithm in order to make it, to keep the curiosity of like, how do we continue to master this thing? It's unmasterable.
It's unmasterable. The only way that you can quote unquote like get ahead of it, get on top of it, is by staying ahead of it. So that's kind of what it's really honestly so fun. And the thing is, it's a very depressing thing to hear an artist talk about, is like having to think about ways to market themselves and think about. But the thing is
it though? Isn't it?
A lot of people will listen to me say this and think, well, where's the beauty of the music? Like, where's the passion in her voice about music making? I have endless passion for music making, endless.
But it doesn't have to stop there. You can be creative. Marketing is in its very essence a creative pursuit.
1,000,000,000%. However, for some people listening to me, especially me talk about it, I feel like I'm kind of right, and I'm not mad about it. I think I'm a lot of people's like scapegoats for conversations.
Why? What do you think that what are they asserting with these statements on you? What do they think you're doing?
It makes all sense in the world. I'm not going to sit here and say like I'm somebody, when it comes to music and how I ingest music and how I make music, I'm very 10 toes down. Yeah. I'm not going to suddenly like change how I make music because someone's telling me to. I'm going to do it if I want to. So that means that when someone asks me my musical opinion, what do you think of this type of music? How do you why are your songs so short? Why do you I'm going to tell you the reason why. And the thing is, people have the choice to either accept that this is just how I do it and enjoy the output, or I can be the scapegoat as to why music these days is failing and a catastrophe, and it's really one way or the other. It's like a very balanced, especially with adults. Like, it's very much teens. I feel like are a bit more like chill, like down with this shit. But adults who have obviously been here longer and have experienced the music industry for way longer than us as younger people have, understand that it's like music didn't used to be like this. Music used to be more around it.
That's old. That's over.
True, but I mean, some people don't want to necessarily accept that, or some people hope that it's not going to become any different from how it was a while ago. And I'm one of those people too. Sometimes I'm like, damn, music back in the day, but then I'm also like, but music now. It's a really flip of the coin thing. But all that to say, is that music these days is very much people will only give a flying toss if the song is going viral and trending. That's like the one and only basically way to get a bona fide
You just got to
hit.
be ready. Let's talk Deftones, okay?
Yeah.
So Deftones, one of my favorite bands of all time. I've been a fan all the way through. They've never put a bad They've never put a bad record out. I don't think they've ever done a bad song. They're one of the most consistently brilliant bands on this planet. If you love that, right? Preach. Am I right, Steve? You love this fucking band too. They just cannot fucking lose, right? For me, but they were on a steady one. They were like, all right, we got our core fan base. We're on a steady one. We might get a few arenas in certain parts of the world. It's big theaters and amphitheaters elsewhere. TikTok comes along. Everyone's like, oh, Cherry Waves. Oh, Sex Tape. Oh, Minerva. Hole in the Earth. Be Quiet and Drive. Shove It. These songs start to pop. People start to discover them. Now they're playing sold out arenas all over America, about to release what will be their biggest album, and they could not be bigger. I went to New York MSG the other night, and I went to the Forum. I've seen them twice on this tour. Kids everywhere. My point is when that stuff does go, better be fucking ready.
Not me or everyone?
Everyone.
Facts.
You better be ready.
Facts. But that's the thing that's I feel like you're right. I feel like you have to be ready. And I think that's where there's a difference between somebody blowing up from like going from maybe a lesser known and an anonymity to then having a big song and then being like someone with a big song, and there's a difference between like someone that is an existing musical force using it to further their
and redirecting people into what already exists.
Exactly. And so for me, obviously, I'm navigating the latter.
But you were the former not long ago.
But I was the former. So it's funny. It's like I'm kind of...
You are a really fascinating example. I would counter anyone who says that you are represent what they would consider to be a negative trend in music, and I think you're actually proof that you can use the tools to break and maintain. No, but I mean, and all that. Well, that was such an adorable reaction. Let me continue to gas you. No, I'm serious. I mean, I was going to ask you a few points back because we both move very fast.
We do.
You know, is it possible to continue to break through based on how you do it? Because you go in, you understand. Charlie's the same. Understands how to position and move the music. Likes the curiosity. What does this tool do? How do I use it to reach people? Do you feel like it's possible if you're a kid out there to break through?
From an anonymity or someone, is it possible to break through? 100%. I've seen people break through recently and like two hollers.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it's so possible. I've always said, because obviously you have to imagine like there's a lot of younger people than me that I meet that make music who obviously... And I'm not the one with all the answers because I'm not even... I've to some people I've broken through, to some people I haven't. And I truly think that I have yet to actually break through as a force.
Okay,
I do. I do genuinely think I have yet to break through. But there's obviously a lot of kids that make music and look at me and they're like, okay, you've done this. So like words of wisdom. And I'll tell them, I'll impose my words without them even asking sometimes. But I'll basically tell them
I do that too.
You know what I mean? Sometimes I'm like, you just basically need... And this is so obvious sounding, but it's so hard to actually enact, is you need your niche, you need an image, and that's all the things you need. The music can be as amazing. I've heard artists that have literally the best music I've ever heard. Like I'm talking Frank Ocean level, like good. And like
they don't have
but they don't have the fan base and they don't have listeners. And I'm like, but imagine if you took step towards like branding yourself and like thinking outside of the box to like market yourself and get yourself like that's
introduce yourself.
Like there's real ways that you can like, that's the thing this is why I think it's really hard for people to break through these days, because you need something. In the UK we call it techers. You need the techers, and the techers it's a form of hustle. You need this hustle mentality of, okay, I know this song's really good. Now I need to basically figure out how I'm going to make not even a trend, how I'm going to market myself.
Yeah, to find an audience. Yeah.
Find an audience. And it sucks because as musicians, you know, they'll always tell me back like, but I just want to make it about the music.
Yeah, but let's just pause there for a second because I came from a generation where it was all about the music and the label would do all the rest of it. For some people in the room have been through that too. Guess what happens when they don't?
Oh.
They drop you.
So
what happens is they bring you in and they go, oh, we think you're amazing. Our instinct tells us you're incredible. Now we're going to do the diligence and spend a certain amount of money going and find your audience. And if they don't do a good enough job, they They put it back and they say, didn't work out for you.
Exactly.
And so then you're back to doing a day job. At least this way you can stick it out if you can survive as long as it takes.
Exactly. And you're on your own time and you're on your own dime. And you're not like, and that's kind of this, even though I'm signed to a label and they give me an amazing amount of support and endless resources, and I'm so thankful for everybody that works there, I still take it upon myself to do my own research, to do my own bits of like I'll still speak to people, of course, at the label and like we'll discuss, go back and forth. But for me, I really do try and make it. And that's what, when you mentioned Charlie, I'm like, that's pretty much what she did too. And obviously like it's when you have taste as an artist, you can't fail. That's what I've always said. I think a lot of...
That's a good one.
When you have taste.
By the way, the bar's really high for PinkPantheress here. I mean, I drop the bomb pretty liberally, but you set the bar so high after the last conversation, I was waiting for the real nugget. You gave me the real nugget of wisdom. The real chicken nugget right there.
Thank you.
If you have taste, you can't fail. God, I'm so happy to see you. I felt like, you know, you really just weren't interested in talking with us on the show for a long time at the beginning. What was that about?
Really?
Yeah, we asked so many times and you kept saying no.
Yeah, because I didn't do interviews because I was like basically...
Oh, you did a few.
Really?
I was watching.
Well, I think they were more UK based.
Yeah, they were.
But it's okay. For me, it was like, I was actually quite anonymous back then. If you remember correctly, I was really shy. And for the reasons I told you, because when I have an opinion on specifically music, I'm 10 toes down. Yeah. And I don't want to say something that people are going to be ruffled by.
Yeah, you don't care so much anymore because this is who you are.
I don't care. I do care. I don't
care.
I don't like when people take my words out of context to fit an agenda because that's not the case. Like I'm very like when people try and like question my intelligence or my skills or like my interest in music, I get very, very, very upset.
No one should ever do that.
Because how are you going to, like, people actually telling me in comment sections that I don't care about music is crazy, because I would never say that back to them. Like if we were physically in person and somebody said to me, "You don't care about music," I wouldn't even have the balls to say it back, because that's how little I think that's such an insane thing to say.
Our instinct is going to be to find some to offload, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. Like if you go to the comments, you spend any time in the comments, which is a hit and miss experience. You'll see the kind of nature of people who are looking for some positivity to share.
Yes.
It can be constructive, but it's just still like trying to land something that adds value, versus the ones that just fire off these missives. Like it's nothing.
True. I do agree. I agree with you. There's definitely, and I noticed that same difference. And I know people in real life that are haters, and so I'm aware, but it's funny because the haters...
You got to know them.
You got to know a few haters, but the haters that I know obviously aren't people that would comment this hate. It's more like between ourselves. I think a lot of people generally want to start... I think it's more of a discourse where people genuinely actually like... It's not even because they are haters, but they genuinely in their hearts don't want to see music go a certain way. And so they definitely want to share it with other people and say, listen, we can't let music go this far. We can't let people like her with the platform say stuff like this.
Yeah. No, and that gets fucking deep, by the way, because that comes from fear. And by the way, some of that is like awful. Some of that is homophobia. Some of that is racism.
100%.
Like there is really high level human toxicity that can form those opinions. They just come in little microscopic sort of form of like, this song sucks. It's like, what are you really saying?
Right. Oh, yeah.
And
very
true.
true.
That's when you can go down a bit of a rabbit hole. And
Yeah, it's always nuance.
Your dad you're a family of intellects.
Family of intellects. My dad's side for sure.
Yeah. So growing up in that household and trying to find a way to feed your passion for art and for music and for creativity, but also playing chess every night with your dad and realizing that, you know, he obviously holds his ability to be able to work in the cerebral arts at a very high level. What was that balance like as a kid?
Well, for me, it was actually funny. I mean, I'd say, funnily enough, my family, because we're all very different people, just generally, like in my nuclear family of 4, very different.
How many siblings?
Well, actually, I have 2 half brothers, but I have 1 full brother. So I lived with my full brother and my mum and my dad. We're all so different because I'm very different to my brother, and then my dad is very different to my mum, and then I'm very different to my dad, and then so there was not much. We wouldn't hang out. So for me, it was like I found my own activities. And I would be producing. My brother and me do have a shared interest in production, and he's a sound engineer. So obviously there is that. And also he's just a great flipping guy. But I wouldn't say that we necessarily did it together, but I did borrow his equipment and I would do this kind of thing myself. And honestly, I did have a hand at chess. I'd say maybe I was better than the average person, maybe based off of genetics. Hey, because we really are.
Not Queen's Gambit, but you can't. But you don't f*** around.
I
is
don't
what
f***
you're
around.
saying.
I'm not Queen's Gambit though. But let me think. My dad, I'd say his input with the academia was very strong while I was going into secondary school, because there's a test you have to take to see if you get into a grammar school. Do you know what a grammar school is?
Yep.
Okay. Once I got into the grammar school and it was A-levels and GCSEs, I think he was like, took his foot off the gas a little bit. I don't know. I think he kind of was like, okay, you can. And I didn't do badly at school, to be fair. I did kind of just mid. But I don't know. All my creative pursuits I was very secretive about with my family, home.
Just kept it low key.
Low key, because I'm somebody that I love. This is such a weird thing to say, but I love when people have secrets. I love when people feel like they have to keep something to themselves. I love when people have that integrity to want to keep an activity secret. Like, for example, I'm just trying to think in the context of let's say you're married and your wife has thing is it can then go into dangerous territory because she could be cheating. But let's say your wife goes downstairs every night and then when she gets to bed she has a lot of feathers on her and glue and you're in your
That's a different part of her life.
Yeah, in your mind you're like, oh, she's probably doing arts and crafts down there. I'm not going to ask, unless she wants to tell me. I'm not going to ask. I love that you can have this sanctity.
Yes, of your own experience.
So that's what I kind of did. I just had my own little thing and I wouldn't tell anybody.
I think that's really cool. I think the idea of you being able to give yourself the space to do it without the desire to share it with other people for validation as well,
and
which
judgment.
That's a really rare situation. Most people start making music, and the first thing we're programmed to do is immediately sort of go, just open the damn popcorn.
Sorry.
The first thing We're so past that. Validation and stuff. Most people go, the first thing we do is we're programmed to go search for other people to tell us it's good. So how did you know it was good?
TikTok.
That's
so it. That was my validation.
That was your validation.
Yeah, I wanted my validation to be very unbiased and because no one will be more honest with you than people on the internet listening to music that you put out.
You really go into the detail on this. Not just like we put a song on and see where it goes. Like you're all about the layers on layers and layers of decisions.
The thing is, right, listen, it's like we can all sit here and this is what I want people to be realistic about with themselves when they put out music. It's like we can literally go in, like I could have gone into this album, project, mixtape, and not done a proper rollout. Said to my label, you know what, we're going to do what we always do and just kind of put it out.
See what the internet thinks and go.
But that is not the age of today. And the thing is, I always look at myself and I think of myself in two sectors of thought. Sometimes I'm like, half of me really wants to be a very recognized and one day an iconic
hence the part of you that feels you haven't broken through.
Hence that, but then also, and hence the reason why I'm going so heavy. I want to go so heavy on this mixtape and actually do the things and do the do. Yeah. But part of me is also like, but damn, like being like an unsung hero kind of seems cool too. But then I'm like, but
longer road.
What do you mean longer? Is it a longer road though?
I think so, because ultimately, if you go unsung for a longer period of time, people start singing your songs, but they sing all of them. So it could take 10 years or 20 years, but eventually people will catch up to why you're great if you stick at it. And then you just get the same reward that people may get with 2 or 3 songs in the first few years, but it's just way more rewarding if you've got the techers. That's
like where we cross over here, because I want to be, because I do think I'm unsung hero, and I do also want to be bigger. So there is do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to be big enough where it's like,
that's called a conundrum.
It is a conundrum. But there's this level that I want to be, which I'm basically not. And that's not saying I want to be global superstar. I don't want to be that big. It's like a perfect, right? Okay, so let's imagine there's a tier list, okay? I'm about here, middle, and I want to be here, not here.
And
this
here,
we can leave.
Here is Taylor?
Oh, I've got, I'm sure, yeah. And the thing is, right?
And here is where you want to be.
But she's also unsung hero because her fan base is so amazing.
She'll always be the unsung hero.
That's a very rare case, rare.
She does both, you're right.
Very rare. This space here is I don't want to occupy because I don't see myself needing to go to like a lot of these awards. I don't want to be kind of everywhere like that. I just want to have a very nice fan base who are dedicated.
So like Bon Iver?
Sure, Bon Iver.
That's
Bon Iver. Bon Iver. I wouldn't mind, like something like where you just have a very dedicated fan base and everyone knows your fan base is super dedicated.
Slide into arenas, slide back home, figure it out.
Something really cute, and then you just have like an amazing fan base. When you go to a festival, you've got all your fans are there. But I'm not fussed about having absolutely everybody know my name.
But you want to be able to go in and like do a couple of nights at a good, really decent sized place and just know it's there. Yeah,
I want to be very
like Brixton Academy, like you're doing.
Yes, you're right. And I'm listen, this is not to say that I'm unsatisfied. I'm so satisfied with where I am. You have no idea.
Just trying to remind you.
No, you're completely right. I'm so satisfied, and you're right. Being able to see that is a force within itself. What I'm saying is, I'm not really talking about in terms of capacity. I'm talking about in terms of like I want to have a list of things that I can say I've done, which is like iconic enough to like, or I want to, okay, this is what it is. I want to make culture moves that put me here. And I don't think I've made enough culture moves yet. I feel like I've made a good few. I don't think I've made enough culture moves yet. I'm not talking about numbers like, I actually want 1 million. I actually want 10 million more monthly listeners. I don't care about that. I don't care about charting. I want it to be more of a like, culture move.
Here's my stable of achievements that have moved the needle enough in order to get people to understand who I am, but also what's possible.
Perfect. That's why I don't want to be up here. I want to be like a nice here where I've just had a lot of...
Cleo's soul.
Mother. Saw her live the other day. Did you?
Dude, I was in LA for the New York show and New York for LA show. I was texting Inflo like... I'm the biggest schmuck on the planet right now. I've inadvertently missed both shows. Hopefully I'll get a second chance. I heard it was absolutely phenomenal.
Amazing.
But see, she keeps making the culture moves.
Amazing.
Right? Steps into the big places but does it on her own terms. I think she's a great example of that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So good.
Mixtape. So, such a base question, but I can't get past it without figuring. This is my way in, so I'm just going to take it. Could have been an album. but you chose to do it in a different way? Is it because you were far more free with the samples and just wanted to be uninhibited? Because albums can kind of come with this whole sort of structured, weird psychological pressure of like,
Well,
it's an hour.
There's an irony in what I'm about to say. I personally, the only difference for me is what I go into the project. When I start a project, the only difference for me between me calling an album and a mixtape is what I went into it thinking it was. Right. So if I went in thinking it was an album, then I would have gone into it with that mindset, and it probably would have been different in some ways, whether it was less samples, whether it was like my lyrics would be a bit more cohesive.
Isn't it more about making a statement or something when you're making an album? Whereas a mixtape, even though you are making beautiful music, it gives you the freedom to just kind of move with a bit of...
I think so as well. Ease. I think it's a bit more freedom, but you're right. I don't think there's actually many there's no rigid structures between, in my opinion, what makes this too different from an album. And it's just what I went in thinking it was.
I love the fact that you're leaning into some of the great sort of creators of this particular type of room, these great producers who have also very emotional producers like Basement Jaxx, Underworld. My God, 2 months off. I mean, that's me and my wife's like straight up real talk. That's like our song. Like that song is like, oh man, it's just such an incredibly emotive, beautiful piece of music. And so, I guess to some degree, that sort of feeling that you got from those artists informed this.
100%. It's an ineffable feeling that I get listening to a lot of the stuff so basically what happened was I found Basement Jaxx, and I already knew, obviously I was very aware, but I really deep dived into their first album, Remedy.
Yeah.
And I'd never heard Remedy before.
Yeah.
I'd never heard Remedy before.
Bonkers album.
Insane. But I'd heard the few albums after that, but I hadn't heard Remedy yet. So I listened to Remedy and I was like, and I, for one, was somebody that didn't know that they could enjoy. I'm very I'm a very melodical person when it comes to music, so I wasn't aware I was going to enjoy more of an instrumental kind of album. Yeah. But it was literally, it blew me away. And I felt things that I hadn't felt before. And also, more than that, I felt like I was listening to something I'd never listened to before. I was like, I've never heard anything like this.
Everybody felt that way. When Fly Life came out, it was like everybody was very much in the club headspace and knew who the players were and were excited about this Basement Jaxx crew. When Fly Life came out, it's like, that's the only song anybody was talking about.
Wow.
So when they came out with Red Alert, it was like there was mass anticipation for Remedy because they'd built this kind of underground anticipation of
Amazing.
Like, these two are going to change the game.
I wish it was still that way. That would be so far out.
But in a way it kind of is, isn't it? Don't you think that to some degree for the kids, Hollis represents an element of that, what he's trying to do?
Like, you mean like a building of an underground...
Dude, there was a lot of people who were waiting on their phones and on their devices for that album to drop last week, for sure.
Oh, I mean, yeah, you're completely right, but yeah. Yeah, no, I guess you're right. But I guess the difference is, I suppose, is that it's more in person. It would be more in person, mouth-to-mouth delivery.
Yeah.
Pause. I'm joking. I've never said that before in my life. I don't know, that feels so appropriate to say it. The kids say it. But yeah, you're right though. It's a lot, but it's all to do with someone's core fan base. I mean, he's an example, actually, funny enough, of someone with a really good core fan base early from the jump.
Also created a niche, developed an identity.
Yes.
Fed the fans through that lane.
And that's why he is doing what he's doing. And genuinely, he's like a very good, I always use him as an example when I talk to like artists that are trying to figure it out. I'm like, look at him, bro.
Yeah.
Literally look at him.
And none of that would have probably happened if I'm really honest. Well, let's trace it all the way back to Kanye, then Future then Cardi.
Carti.
I think Carti's a big one. I think he changed the sound design and what people, that distortion, that wake up filthy that drops, and it just has an effect on kids. And I think out of that comes this like, oh, that can be club too. You know what I mean? Like,
I think you're right. It's just a sense of, I think a lot of kids, quote unquote, they want to feel a sense of belonging and they want to feel different a lot of the time. And that's why like, no matter what era we're in, we'll always know that some people want to be outcast. Some people are naturally outcasted, but some people also have the desire to be different and want to be outcast. And I feel like more so than ever, I think there's kids that want to have an identity that they feel like no one else can really share with them. And I can relate because I was the same when I was a teenager. I really wanted to be a little different. But the magic of it is that I found a lot of great music through wanting to be different. So same thing here. In these days, it's like, if you can look different, then let's say someone's in a mid-state, like flipping what? Missouri. Say we're in Missouri and you go to high school and everyone is listening to the same thing, wearing the same clothes. How much of a outlet would somebody like Carti be for these people?
Huge.
Such a huge
Gigantic.
outlet because
willing to travel 300 miles to somewhere to go see the arena shows closest to you.
Right, because suddenly now you can align yourself with not just an artist, but you can align yourself with all these other like-minded people that are like you and find friends based off of that.
Yeah.
Find a girlfriend maybe from that. Find a job from that. Like
those t-shirts matter. They really do. They tell you who you are. They tell people who you are.
And so what are you going to do other than want to thank the musician for being able to give you this type of lifestyle that you didn't have before when you weren't quote unquote cool and you were like everybody else and you assimilated? You have to thank them by going to the shows, being the first one to stream the album, paying for the tickets, paying for merch. And that's why you have these cult fan bases. And that's kind of what I always wanted to give people. It's not like, although I don't think I'm the most edgy musician. Of course I'm not. But I do know that I am maybe more naturally aligned with a different style of, music for some people. I think the aesthetics I try and make things be so it's...
You're an outsider on the inside.
Yes, I try to have it so anyone that listens to me can feel like we all have a sense of belonging in my world.
Well, because you bring people with them. That's the difference, right? Artists like you and Emo did this. We talked a little bit about that last time. Emo did that. Emo was like, this is not a party we were ever invited to. Yep. But now we're in. And guess what? You can come with us. And then you can leave.
Then you can get the f*** out.
Then you can get the f*** out. And it's the getting the f*** out, which is kind of the play. See, the people who really want it, they never leave. They never leave the room. Once they're in, they're like too scared to leave. Like, oh, I want it too bad. I've got to stay. And you're like, oh, no, I'm going to leave. But I'll be back. Yeah. I just got to go make something new and then I'll come back.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's the level that you want to get to. I think you're kind of there. But I know what you mean about like you got more to do.
Yes. No, exactly. You're completely right. I agree. Like, and I've said this before. I say her name in every interview. She's my main source of inspiration, especially being like what? 18, 17, finding music for the first, finding good, tasteful music for the first time and aligning myself. Yes. And finding Kate Renata and finding Kalala through Kate Renata. It was like, I was very familiar, like she didn't drop an out, like the last time she dropped was in 2014, I think before that point. Was it 2014? Was it? God, it must have been. I'm going to fact check that.
Yeah, go on.
Because that sounds way too long ago.
But that's the beauty of an artist like Kalala is time doesn't actually matter.
It was 2017. 2017, I don't know how I got 2014. But yes, 2017 was the album that she dropped previous to that. And I was like, and obviously in my head, I was like, flip, I've missed the boat. And then seeing that she released again, I was like, wow, she took a flipping 7, 8, 9, 10, 6-year break. Like, this is insanity. And just in that meantime, I don't know if she was making the new album, if she was working on herself, finding love, going on holidays. Who knows?
But guess what? When she came back, you were right there.
Yeah, I was right here still. And the album was great. And it was really well received and amazing.
Faith in people, right? That everyone's going to stick with you and hang around and want to come and see these shows.
But that's only a privilege that you can be afforded if you made the time to build the core fan base at the very beginning. That is the other train of thought, because a lot of artists cannot take that break and come back. And it's very sad to see it, but they can't. Yeah. And even with my case, like you're saying, like, you're in, and I'm like, yeah, I feel like I'm very comfortably able to kind of tap in and tap out. But, obviously, even I have that fear of like, oh, like, has it been too long? And, what I'm saying. But, I guess time will tell. And
isn't the remedy to that just work? At the end of the day,
it is.
It's just got to get back to work, roll your sleeves up and get back to work. And even if you lost 30% because they're off over somewhere else, go find them. Find your audience. They're waiting for you. They're over there.
That's why I say the world is literally right here.
It's right there.
We're in it.
You love making music.
I love it.
You love making music,
that.
And you produce and you get into the whole roll your sleeves up type of thing, and I love that. What is the environment like when you're making music? When you're actually in the zone and nothing can interrupt you. Is it a spell that can't be broken? What's the feeling like when you're really like in your flow? So
for me, it's a matter of being around people that I obviously really like, and then also I really prefer being in the UK. I don't like being in America too much to make songs.
Feels too much of a trade?
What's a trade?
speed dating, riding over here. Come to a session. Come to a session. Da, 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 da.
A little bit, but it's like when I work on something, I only work with a very select pool of producers that I trust and know will get me there. For this project, I actually entrusted somebody I'd never worked with before, which was fun. But luckily, he's super lovely, and like he helped me. He was actually he ended up being a really amazing exec, almost like somebody that kept the files, kept everything in place, got the masters. Like he was very useful for me to have.
Who was that?
Oh, well, his name's Axel. Oh my God, he's going to be so happy I mentioned him. He's going to be like, gag. He's going to be like, yeah. His name's Axel. He's from Norway. And like, it's so funny I'm mentioning him, but yes, because I work with the same producers a lot. I have one called Count Baldur, I have one called Phil. I have, obviously we've got Muramasa and we've got Oscar Scheller as well. So these are people that I go to and I return to.
So how does Axel get a job?
So exactly, how does he get a job? It's so funny. I feel like I was in Kentucky, Louisville, for the Jack Harlow Festival, which ended up being cancelled because I was meant to perform on the second day, but the second day got cancelled because of the thunderstorm. Yeah. And so I guess what do we do now? So
Jack couldn't charm his way out of that, could he?
Oh, wait.
He could charm his way out of almost anything, but he couldn't charm a storm away.
Though. He tried.
Nature, it's me, Jack. I'm giving you that look. You know, that look that sends people on the red carpet crazy. Why don't you just go away and come back another day?
Listen, he tried. I watched him try, but he couldn't do it that day. It was too strong. The winds were too strong for him. But so basically what it was, I met him and he was like, there was something about him that made me very intrigued to hear what he could do, because he was very much, I studied your stuff, like, you know, like you're my favorite artist. Like
he was playing chess with you and he totally outmaneuvered you.
Not really outmaneuvered though, because there was a chance I could have outmaneuvered him upon hearing the beats that he was going to show me. Of course, if I didn't like them, I would have been like, probably not this time. And that would have been me. That's
your goodbye, not this time.
Yes, that's my, shout you for the next one. But in his case, I really liked what he did, and he had a very quick understanding of exactly the sound I wanted to do, which I thought was quite rare to have very quickly.
Obviously, he made a beeline for you. He was like, I've got this music with you in mind.
Well, kind of. He didn't really have any beats prepared. I sent him a album that I wanted to give off the vibe of, or not give off the vibe, but I sent him something for inspiration, and he basically came back and it sounded like really good. What
was the album?
I think it was like something like Groove Armada, I think. It was
yeah.
But it was, and he sent something, I was like, this is like, fair enough. Like, I can't really argue. Like, you did do your studying. And then, he ended up being the exec. And I obviously got like the main producers to come back and like got them to work on some stuff. And so we ended up making it very quickly and very cohesively. But yeah, I don't do the speed dating sessions anymore. I used to. I don't do them anymore.
Yeah, they're brutal.
They are, and I'm not.
It's really tough. It's like, hey, how's your day? How's it going? What's going on? What's happening in your life? Who broke your heart? Okay, let's get to work.
Yeah, I don't really. That's not my way.
Yeah. You sound so just very excited and engaged on this music, and your performance and the way you're singing and delivering on this just sounds like you love this music.
Thank you.
I'll give her a bag of popcorn. That would suggest to me that the time you had in between projects worked a fucking treat.
It did. And for me, the one thing I'm really thankful for is actually, sometimes I'm a big manifester. I'm not necessarily...
Good. Let's talk about that.
I'm a big manifester, and I'm someone that believes in, I've got a kernel stuck in my gums.
And so that's the risk. That's what you run when you put the popcorn and eat the popcorn.
It's actually doing more damage than good. That's the thing. Which is funny because I'm still going for it.
I know. It's like I'm watching you self-destruct in your second bag of like white cheddar popcorn.
Yeah, and
the irony is it's called smart food.
Not dumb food.
Not very smart food.
Dumb food.
Right, smart food for a dummy. My bad.
I just think you need to check in with me when you think you can make a joke.
Yeah.
Like, to see if I'm like ready for it.
Just air check it.
Yeah. But anyway, my point is, we were just talking about, yes, I'm a big manifester. So essentially what that is sometimes, I think it's very easy for people to punish themselves and think, for God's sake, like this didn't work out the way I wanted it to. But whereas I'm somebody that if I dwell on that too much, I'll lose my mind. So I try and find the hidden beauty of everything. And my hidden beauty, I'll never forget, when it came to my first album, and I was like, I didn't do any marketing. I was like, this is the album. Here it is. And obviously people at the label were like, if you would have marketed it, probably would have done like really well and then you would have probably charted. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I remember for a little. There was it was about a day, 1 hour in one evening where I was like, "Damn, yeah, they're kind of right. I probably could have like marketed that more and like actually had like maybe like something maybe more fruitful
Maybe
come
I
out of it."
sold this a little too much.
Yeah. However, as I quickly snapped out of it when I realized, but this is actually exactly what I subconsciously wanted. You go from blowing up in 2021, you end up having this project that has a lot of this like viral stuff on it. Then you kind of get this then you have your biggest song in your career in 2023, and then you have that song on your album. Like, I don't really care about my second album. I don't really want to have 3 albums. How do I put this? I'm very happy to have a drop in streams. I'm very happy to have an album that is way more pensive and less appealing to like virality, or less appealing to the teens, or less appealing to. I'm very happy to have a project that can prove my musical. Yes, as long as it adds to a narrative. And now, beautifully, the narrative is now okay. The first project was underdeveloped, but hype and like hard and cool. The second project was well done, cohesive. She can prove her musical She can prove her musical techers, but it was less enjoyed by like the masses in terms of kids and TikTok. It was less, TikTok informed, if that's to say that. So now it's afforded me now a beautiful balance of, okay, well, people know I can make good music in a pensive and slower style. I have the ability to do it, but they also know that I can do the other thing, which is like make
pop.
Okay, sure. I can do both. I've proved I can do both. So now it affords me now leeway to now make a mixtape like this, which is like, okay, now I can go and do exactly what I want because I've already proven myself with this and this and this. And I didn't really ever care about what I wanted to really have with my album was a cult-ish following for the album. And the thing is, I think that in so many words, I still think I got it. I still think I have people that a lot of my fans found me from that album. And a lot of like kids, younger people will be like, Sam, I miss when she did drum and bass. But I'm like, yeah, but how can I make 2 albums, 2 projects of drum and bass and Garrett? How can I do that? It shows no development. It shows no growth. My thing is it all adds to a larger picture of one day, once I'm 5 albums, 5 projects in, we can look at all of them and see where I've gone for each one.
Who's really here. It's a consolidation process, which is an important part of it. We see it all the time with artists where it starts really big here and you're lucky. Then sometimes it goes to there. Sometimes after 4 albums, it's down to here. But here is still a really great amount of people who love what you do. And here, everyone is still revolving around you trying to figure out where they tap back in. Some of them may tap into the album they weren't sure about. That happens all the time. Radiohead, a classic example of that. They are totally fine consolidating. They have no problem making the right decision creatively and assuming that at some point you probably will love Moonshaped Pool, even though you didn't understand it 6 years ago. That's literally happened to me this year.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured out recently, and especially when you look at so many artists that have actually been around for ages, and they just blow up, and then we're looking at their old discography, and suddenly those songs are doing really well because if they're new stuff. I've always known that would be the case for me.
PinkPantheress.
I've always known.
Are you in this for life?
What, like a musician?
Yeah.
No, not for life. Not like till I'm
that was
back.
the hook. That was like all leading up to this moment. You were like, man, by the time I've made 10 albums and I've decided,
come on, mate.
And I was going to hit you with, are you in this for life? And you would go, you know what I am? And you're like, nah.
Come on, mate. Obviously, okay, maybe I'm taking it too literally. For life? No, of course not. Like,
why not? Why wouldn't you want to make music for so much fun for the rest of your life?
No, that's not, no. When I say 5 albums in, I realistically, if it can afford me until I'm like 40, wonderful, amazing.
I'm interested by this.
I don't feel the need to, when I'm older, go into like legacy. I don't know if that's me. That's why I really enjoy Sade. Because she does the odd performance here and there, but like she's really just on her own. Like she did what she needed to do, and then she said, right, you got the stuff now. And what's amazing about Sade is that she's so timeless that now even kids, I'm saying kids but now like younger people are getting into her even just now.
Yeah.
She'll never die. She'll never die.
Well, she also moves like a snow leopard. She's good. She's the best.
Calculated, and she knows exactly what she wants out of what she does, and that's why she's the GOAT. And yeah, and I'm not comparing myself to Sade, of course, but I'm just saying like.
As we near the end of this particular conversation, and this How do you establish a framework for yourself now that allows you to not cut your own hair and focus on sort of enjoying this experience?
For me, it's just knowing my limits. And I think a lot of my limits come in form of, I fear a lot of things, put it that way. I have a lot of fears. No, let me be more, I don't have a lot of fears, my bad. Recant. Get it?
You're a good recant.
There you go. But I'm going to recant that statement. I
had 2 coffees this morning. I knew it was going to be this one. I'm so glad I've kept up with you.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah. So for me, I don't have a lot of fears, but when I have a fear, it's a very strong fear. It's never just like a middle tier fear. It's the worst thing that could happen. So for me, performing really does kind of come into that. And so for me, it's just being aware about which performances I know I'll be able to like do. What
do you enjoy? Okay, what's an enjoyable environment for you? Where do you feel like you can enjoy it and not be overwhelmed by this?
Okay, it's actually a lot to do with crowd sizes too. I'd say my most comfortable cap would be 10K. Anything going over that is where I get a little bit like, oh.
That's why festivals are a bit sketchy for you because you're uncontrolled.
It's very uncontrolled. And plus as well, there's a lot of distance between you and the people watching you. Like there's a whole barrier and a whole, like you can be a few feet above them. So for me, that's also very much.
The goldfish bowl is not your jam.
No, I very much need, like that's why I love Boiler Room, because you're right there. And those are perfect for me. Like I love being right up close, but that's not just because I think my music sounds better and is enjoyed better in those scenarios. But I think for me, it's just so much nicer to be able to, not even to be that person, but I definitely would describe myself as someone of the quote unquote people. Like any sign and semblance I have of myself where I feel like I'm put above like VIP sections. Oh God. I was like, bro, I'm like, this is so cringy. Like, even if I wanted to be put in these positions, or I had to be put in these places, I will never ever be in these positions comfortably.
Yeah.
Like being super separated from people that are here paying to watch me and stuff like that. It's so hard for me. So
the Brits are a tough night for you.
The Brits? The Brits?
Yeah.
Oh no, the Brits aren't. Oh, why? Because it's like it's an awards show.
It's the most VIP.
I guess, but that's kind of a bit different though, because that's very clear as to what it is. Like, there's not necessarily like, I don't know how to put it.
There's a purpose.
Yeah, there's a purpose. Like, it's not like, I'm trying to think of it. But okay, but you understand my point. But essentially, arenas are very hard for me too. I can't really. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it anymore. I don't think I could do an arena anymore. And that's about it though.
So you go in the round in Brixton to be in the middle of it?
No, I'm not going in the round.
That would be pretty sick though.
Very kind of sick, but very like, I'd have to be constantly like rotating to make sure everyone like is.
There's an anxiety of exposure to how do my back is to somebody at all times.
True. No, I think something smaller where I can see people's faces and look into their eyes. And they can feel a bit more close to me would be wonderful.
Long may this journey continue. I hope we get a chance to talk again and again.
I really hope so. I wonder if we're going to be like still talking when I'm like 30.
That's what I'm saying though. But by the way, I thought you gave a great answer about, the idea of checking out. I mean, I'm just so protective of music and love watching artists evolve and find their space and never say never, but man, one day at a time, one project at a time.
Yeah.